Welcome back. Uh, I just showered, so my hair is a little wet. I did dry most of it, but it is a misty morning at fucking 5, almost 6 in the morning. You guys seen my last video? I talked about underground genres, and one of them that I've been listening to since I've heard of it before yesterday, but yesterday I was really kind of starting to delve more into it. dsbm, or depressive suicidal black metal. I'm probably gonna get flagged for that. Um, Now I am wearing a black anvil hoodie, and ironically, the T-shirt from the same show that I got the hoodie at. I did not do that on purpose. I just coincidence. Now they are not a dsbm band, but they are a black metal band that I thoroughly enjoy. Um, Triumvirate, I think, is how you say the name of that album. My favorite album from them. Um, but that said, I wanted to talk about dsbm and my thoughts on it because it's the genre that got me into black metal, which is very weird to say, as most black metal fans would say Battery or Venom or Mayhem or Burzum or those well-known black metal bands like Immortal got them into it. And while I did know of those bands, I didn't really know songs. I knew Chainsaw Guts Fuck, and that was about as far as I knew for black metal. I didn't know much about Dark Throne. I didn't get into Burzum until much later. Same with Immortal. And overall, just I wasn't digging it. I always kind of leaned towards death metal and thrash metal. Um, but when I found a band, I'm actually gonna go ahead and grab a CD. There it is. When I found the band that I only own this release from, which is Happy Days, Happiness Stops Here. It was the song What It Feels to Be Unloved that genuinely made me feel more miserable than I already was. Now, at the time, of course, I was 16, 17 years old. So, I was going through a lot of trauma at that time. Not gonna go into that. Dramatic stuff, I should say. And, yes, that may sound cringy and edgy, but I genuinely didn't see an escape outside of music. And yes, I was in relationships that at the time I was happy in, but realize now I was miserable, along with some other stuff. Um, you know, I found myself coming back to this album, and it took a while to actually get a CD. My dad actually got it for me for Valentine's Day as a way to show me some love, because my parents will get me a little something just to be like, hey, you're a kid, we love you platonically. Why, I don't know. But he found it, and I was really excited to finally listen to this album, as the first three tracks alone were so self-deprecating, and for some reason I just felt really attracted to it, and I never really listened to much dsbm until later, when I would find a video by Count Blagroth called Guys Shining Hurt My Feelings. If you know Count Blagroth or Sean, you know he does not give a fuck what other people think of him or what he listens to. He knows that he doesn't need to prove shit to anyone, and I respect him 100% for that, and I admire that. When he mentioned that Nicholas would cut himself on stage, and said like the first 5 records were fucking amazing, that intrigued me. Of course, it scared me, as I have had those thoughts, but it was interesting to hear, because I'm like, I've never heard of someone intentionally cutting themselves for people's entertainment. And of course, I got past the sketchiness and whatnot, and past the bullshit, and I was like, I'm gonna listen to this band because they want us to feel this way, and I did. And while I do own some Shining material, I cannot remember the name of the album off the top of my head. I know it's like their 5th one. It's, I think, Roman numeral V or 5. That really kind of solidified my love for the band, as that's not only what I consider their masterpiece, but it's also the one that I am most likely going to spin if I ever get around to buying it. And a few years later, I was getting the Metalhead box, and I got a album that I think a lot of people did. I know Classy Lonnie Metal did, which was Silent Paths Mourner Portraits. And at that point, I had kind of stopped listening to Happy Days and Shining, because I was like listening to more, I don't want to say accessible, but more bands my speed. And I remember putting that CD on, and I remember finding it on Spotify, and I remember I pressed play, and when the first note hit my ears, I felt more depressed than I did listening to Happy Days. Now, that's kind of my story on this, and I know it's 8 minutes in and we haven't even started talking about my thoughts on dsbm. Kind of like Wyatt X Him has said, dsbm is a genre that I don't listen to much, but when I do listen to it, I usually look for bands that seem more genuine about it. And one band that always kind of gave off that vibe was Thy Light, especially with their release Sua.side.depression. Um, as that has not only very little vocal delivery, but it has so much more of a look on here's my journey through misery from beginning to end in only a few tracks. And my favorite part about that release is the fact that it is not just how do I say this? Um, it's not, oh, woe is me. I'm begging you, don't go. Don't leave me. Wow, I'm unloved. It feels much more genuine than a lot of, even just to an extent, black metal artists, as a lot of these bands feel like they're just kind of doing it to do it. And I have to kind of roll back and say, I do remember finding out about Silencer, and while I find it hard to believe that the guy cut off his hands and put pig legs in place of them, that still kind of intrigues me that someone would even attempt to do that, as you know, it's not necessarily uh normal, and that's kind of what I like about it, is psychologically this is not just normal music that, people can throw on. You have to have a certain kind of mind to listen to it, and even then I feel like this is something that you listen to when you want nothing more than darkness and misery around you. And psychologically speaking, I've always been attracted to negative emotions in music, like anger, depression, sorry, and all these, more like inner emotions that people would say make you narcissistic, or makes you a certain way. Because for me it's more of a, but it's relatable, and it's not just easy topics to talk about. My thoughts on dsbm are, it can be done well, and when it's done well it's usually really, really good. An example of a band that I'm so glad I know about, again thanks to Classy Lonnie Metal. If you have not looked at his channel or have not seen his channel, please do so. He has introduced me to so many bands through his collection updates and just his collection videos, which he is still not even close to finishing that series anytime soon, and I really hope he doesn't finish it this year, as that is a series that I watch so many times and I still find new things. But one of the bands they kind of showed early on in that series was a band called Afraid of Destiny, and they have a track called Hatred Towards Myself, which they have a little self-titled EP, which has probably my favorite, and I think Lonnie said it's his favorite version of the track, which is Hatred Towards Myself. And when I listened to the track, I noticed that it's something that you just listen to and you think, sorry, I'm tired as hell. Um, it, uh, it's a song that definitely makes me feel miserable and definitely depressed. And, you know, and what I like about bands like that is you can find bands that are like them that may be just as good, if not better, than the typical bands that you would find. Take Gore Grind, for example, where you have early Carcass, especially Reek of Putrefaction, uh, and like, no, some of those, and like, I don't remember the name. Oh, what is it, Carcass? Last Days of Humanity. Um, where yes, they are known for their just obscure sounds that they made, and um there's not much else to it, but you have bands like Hemorrhage, Carnal Diaphragma, um Anatomist, and even new bands that are coming out with just some even dirtier, nastier production that, it's like you can find channels galore that will talk about them or promote these bands, and it takes no more effort than just typing in the search bar on YouTube or Google and just kind of scrolling to find these gems. Um, Another example for dsbm that I really, really like is Forgotten Tune, as that's a band that kind of feels like Thy Light, but better. Um, and I find that a lot of these obscure genres, as I like to label them, as they are obscure, as you kind of have to go into these deep rabbit holes just to find just surface level bands for them. Um, you know, it it can really put you in a mindset that, like, this is stuff that not many people talk about, but they should. So the takeaway from this is I enjoy dsbm, and I highly recommend you guys do a little digging on it yourselves. And I apologize if none of that made any sense to you. I'm too tired to give a fuck. Thank all for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Fuck off. Till next time.